Hello there. Following the national vote on July 2nd, 2026, the National Independent Authority for Elections in Algeria released the preliminary turnout data, a domestic participation rate of 20.79% and a diaspora turnout of 10.67%, with over 54% candidates representing a brand new generation of youth vying for the 407 seats in the People's National Assembly. These elections mark a highly anticipated structural transition. Tonight, we examine whether this new assembly can successfully shield the internal front against foreign interference, translate political reforms into institutional trust, and steer the economic transformation of the new Algeria. Good evening. Algeria's electoral authority has announced the provisional turnout figures after collecting results from all municipalities, provinces, diplomatic missions, and overseas voting centers. Acting ANI President Karim Khalfan gave the following update.
After receiving the results from the 1,541 municipalities from the 69 provinces, the diplomatic missions, and overseas voting centers, we have now the provisional results, which we will read out for you and which will appear on the screen. Inside the country, after the start of voting operation, let's recall the number of registered voters, which is put at 23,872,756, with 4,962,433 people who cast their ballots, representing a turnout of 20.79%. Outside the country, the number of registered voters is put at 854,285, with 91,170 who cast their ballots, representing a turnout of 10.67%.
The electoral authority stressed that the announced figures are provisional, with final results to be confirmed after vote counting and verification. Let's take a listen.
We remind the dear audience and the Algerian people who are following us now that these figures are provisional, as they are based on the initial count at the ballot boxes. The final and accurate figures will be based on the count of ballot papers, and this process will be completed after the votes are counted and the official reports are reviewed. We also recall that voting is still ongoing abroad in many countries and capitals.
And joining me tonight to dissect the outcomes and the incoming responsibilities of the newly elected People's National Assembly are three distinguished guests. We have Mr. Rafiq Temghari. He's a geopolitical and economic analyst and president of the Amir Abdelkader Circle, joining us from Paris. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Yassine, and regards to all your other guests.
Thank you so much. And also joining us from Paris too, we have Dr. Abdenour Toumi. He's a geopolitical analyst and MENA affairs expert. Thank you, Doctor, for accepting to be with us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on the program and my special guest and your distinguished guest.
Thank you. And we also welcome Mr. Mohamed Chris Sassi. He's a geopolitical observer and financial analyst. He joins us from New York. Thank you, Dr. Chris, for accepting our invite tonight.
Thank you very much for your invite, and welcome to the distinguished guests. Always a pleasure to share with them.
Great, thank you. Let's start up our discussions, and I will bring now Mr. Rafiq Temghari. Looking at the unfolding environment surrounding this July 2nd election, it is evident that this is not merely a technical or purely political appointment, but rather an event with deep long-term national dimensions. Do you agree that the ultimate goal of July 2nd's vote extends far beyond just dropping an envelope into a ballot box, acting instead as a definitive move to consolidate institutional transparency and also state respect?
Thank you, Yassine. Of course, indeed, I think that this election goes far beyond a simple electoral exercise. It's an act of placing just, as you said, the envelope in the box. But in the opposite, it represents a real democratic journey, which normally reflect what is the power, what is the how we can promote all the institution, how we can give this confidence to the population with this election. For me, it contributes also to build something, this relation between the citizens and the state, and let's say it's very significant if we can talk about consolidation of this build between all the rules. It's very important to talk about democracy, because today, if we come back just a little bit before, demos kratos, which is coming from the Greek, which is means the power of the population of the world. Yeah. So we have to use this opportunity with this events, with this great journey. And honestly, I will be very honest with you. I'm very disappointed about the when I see that there are only 20% more or less of the population who use this right, and I hope for the next meetings it will be much more better. So we have to talk about democracy. We have to talk more about all this, let's say, the rights that we have with this simple envelope for someone, but it means a lot for the country and for Algeria.
Yes, and we have to note also that the ANI has stressed that the participation rate is not final. There are just preliminary figures. And now I have the honor to bring Ms. Dr. Abdelnour Toumi to our discussions. Dr. Toumi, Algeria has recently carved out significant, undeniable diplomatic and also strategic successes on the global stage. We have seen Algeria's presence in the Security Council and in the international forums. From an analytical perspective, to what extent does the domestic responsibility displayed by Algerian citizens during this election align with and reinforce also the country's outward-facing successes and also international standing?
Indeed, it is very important when it comes to the stability and also the dynamic of this democratic process that is taking place or was put in place in Algeria. And having said that, the Algerians are actually very, very involved in politics, and they have this actually, to some extent, we call it the Algerian exceptionalism, about how they are involved in public affairs and having this awareness about politics in general. And it's not new. I mean, it's not, actually, it does go to actually a century. And it's a part of course, the political culture of the Algerian across the ideologies spectrum in the society. And this is translated also even to the elites. And this is why when we speak about the elite, this is why the political elite has this responsibility to actually be more involved and not actually diminish or try to sometimes actually involuntarily or actually, I mean, I'm sure they don't mean it, they tarnish the image of the politicians. But this is why, again, the outcome of the participation, and I was a little bit surprised about the number that was announced, 20%. It's a little bit low and doesn't, again, match what I was trying to, the point that I'm trying to make. But this is, again, it sent a strong message abroad, and the image of Algeria on its geopolitics and geoeconomics landscape and its position in international politics. And this is why today, actually, Algeria is looking as a model in terms of stability and this political process that is taking place. Sure, it is a learning process, but again, these elections or these successive elections that have been actually going on in the last 6 years are showing about the healthy democratic process that is actually enhanced by the Algerian authorities that go with economic reforms and political reforms, and to show the world about the unity and solidity of Algerian institutions, whether constitutions, like for instance, when it comes to these elections, it's a parliamentary elections, but those elections are important because this is where the MPs will be debating bills and that will turn into laws that will affect directly not only the 24 million voters, but the entire 48 million of Algerians. And this again takes us to the role of Algeria on the world stage.
Yes, indeed. And now I will move maybe to Mr. Mohamed Chris Sassi. Mr. Mohamed Chris Sassi, the structural shift to an open list proportional voting system was heavily designed to dismantle the old practices of buying candidate positions, like Dr. Abdel Nour Toumi was saying. So given the stringent candidate review process executed by the Independent Election Authority, which is leading up to the vote, how effective has this open list system truly been in permanently curbing the influence of political money?
Well, you ask a question that have many possible answers, but let me try to be humbly sharing with you my own assessment. When you ask about, the transition toward an open list proportional representation system constitute one of the most significant institutional reform within Algeria's recent electoral modernization area. From a political science perspective, the reform seeks to alter the incentive structure that historically facilitate the patronage politics and the commercialization of candidate ranking, as Dr. Toumi was eloquently transmitted
yes.
before me. But we have under the precious closed list system, political parties exercise substantial discretion in determining the order of candidates on electoral lists, since the placement largely determined by the electoral success. Allegation, and I reiterate what you are saying, the power of money. Therefore, the allegation of financial influence over candidate ranking periodically emerge and still emerging at the moment when I'm talking to you. They are discussing about it in the different parties that were running. And the open list model fundamentally changed this dynamic by transferring the decision power from a party elite to the electorate. But as my two predecessors were saying, when you have a participation of less than 20%, you have here to discuss also, not about, all what they are trying to reform, but also on the devoir citoyen, the duty of citizenship. You have to be interested, or 20% doesn't transpire the election as very important for the Algerian income. And therefore, the open list model can change maybe the dynamic. But, if the citizens are not determined to choose the candidate within a party listed, ultimately the parliamentary seat is going to go back to the old class of political Algerian. And that's, for me, it's very important that we enhance the candidate vetting process. And this is where the role of the ANI is the Independent National Electoral Authority is very important, because you have to look at the legal screening of candidates. And I'm not convinced. They are trying, but I'm not convinced that they succeed on that point. But again and again, to reiterate what my predecessor is saying, at least it is the first step, and we are going to, inshallah, go for a better days regarding the electorate. And again, I'm going to say democracy. You have to consider this issue, this ratio of democracy and democracy, because however, maybe I'm having an academic standpoint, but is no electoral system that can permanently eliminate the influence of political money wherever you go. It's not because of Algeria, France, or the state. It's a matter, if there, you cannot deny it. But the electoral integrity is not only by the procedure, but also by who is going to vote. And that, I think, can fight the finance campaign transparency. We can fight for finance campaign transparency when the voter or the one are going to vote are going to be really looking forward this transparency, this integrity, and maybe also to change the landscape of this politician that they are there is like a renting life position, and we have to change that. I think we are going to that. The open list system should therefore, to be optimistic, be viewed with other structural deterrent. I said again, as a structural deterrent, rather than a complete solution. By itself, they cannot do anything. The people, Algerian people in Algeria, overseas, have to be interested in their devoir de citoyen, the right, the
duty to citizenship.
Not only for the right to vote. You have the right to vote, but it's not enough.
Yes, exactly.
And I give you back the floor.
Yeah, indeed. And maybe throughout this election cycle, we have seen various political currents compete intensely, maybe more than ever before. I want to ask this question to you, Mr. Rafiq Temghari. Yet there remains a unifying, maybe national narrative. To what extent here did July 2nd turnout demonstrate that the Algerian voter is fully embracing the patriotic principle? We can absolutely disagree in our opinions. We have different opinions, different orientations, but we can never disagree on the homeland.
Definitely, I agree with you, because today, if we talk about all this vote who demonstrate, let's say that the Algerians are really definitely embracing this democracy. Now we are really going on the steps of democracy, and after a long history with let's say just one party, now it's impossible for the Algerian to not to come back with this democracy. So this democracy and this pluralism, I mean these different parties who they are the Algerians are deeply attached to this national unity first, because we know that there are sometimes some parties who try to play with this democracy. For now it's written in the marble. And if we talk about this political competition, because there is also competition about parties, which is legitimate, and it's necessary, let's say, to advance the democracy. It's necessary to build the Algeria of the future. So let's see what is the units that come after this attachment to Algeria, because today with this very large, let's say, panel of different parties, we can note that even we can disagree with some topics, with some programs, with some ideas, but the priority is still the country. Priority is still the nation, and they can share some aspiration to have a stable and prosperous nation, but now all the world know that Algeria has his sovereignty. Now it's let's say we have a common denominator who is partisan for sharing all this value, as he said, the doctor before, about citizenship. So now how we can work about this national cohesion, because we can be different in ideas of the party, but we go all in the same topic. We would like that Algeria be a real democratic, and the Algerian can use this real democracy. So there still have a lot of let's say action to make in place, like sharing what is the role of each elected people, what is the training that we can talk about this big let's say meetings, and especially the one of yesterday, and also to get all the feedback about all this what we know, it's like the percentage of the people who elect, etc.
Yes, and that will bring the new elected parliament to truly represent the citizens. And how, Dr. Abdelnour Toumi, looking closely at the legislative overhauls and the legal guarantees introduced over the past couple of years by the government, how close have these political changes brought us to the institutional landscape envisioned by the state? Have these structural reforms succeeded in building maybe a solid bridge of trust between the citizens and the ballot box today?
Yes, actually, this was one of the objectives of these elections, and the least, but not the last. And this is actually creates a new, actually not only an exercise, but a mentality of pluralism, like it was mentioned before by Mr. Tara about the plurality of politics across the political parties. And also it was mentioned by Mr. Sassi about the money. And we all know, the money is the nerve of the war. So, and it is actually in the core of politics. But this is actually the outcome of this election. Sure, will send new MPs to the lower chamber, and that with a mission. And this mission not only to actually bring their constituents' demands to the national level and dealing directly with the executive branch. And this is, again, it creates the balance of power and checks and balances. And this, again, when I speak about the mentality, this is we let those MPs and the new actually politicians, and we have spoken a lot about the youth and how it was important for young MPs to get involved and to run for the position of an MP. But it's not about the militancy, and this exercise should be done, of course, in different levels, and for instance, in unions or in universities, and again, in their, for whom who belong to political parties, in their political parties. But it's a part of the direct responsibility that will bring the trust not only between them, the politicians, and also solidify the institutions of the state. And it is important now when we speak about checks and balances, because up until now we saw how the executive branch was actually almost taken over on the legislative branch. But this is not, again, it's not the problem of the constitution or of the exercise. It was a sense, actually I'm using it in the past tense, hopefully we'll stand and we'll go in the future. It's itself the mentality. And this is why we are now as I think mentioned this phrase many times about a learning process and a healthy process. It is important today for those politicians, if they want to create this new sense of trust between themselves and also between them and their voters, in which will lead to this, because we are, again, when we speak about the Constitution, it is, of course, a civil act, and that leads to legality and so on. But it is a social contract that is between the state and the people have the responsibility, like it was mentioned by Mr. Sessi, about the responsibility of citizen role in political life. I mean, they are taking this for granted. I understand the frustration and actually the trust vis-a-vis the politicians, but it's not a valid argument. So we can disagree, but we cannot be disagreeable. So this is why it is important today for these politicians' roles to actually change the image of politics in general. But it's not for the role of the politicians alone. It is coming from the elite, cultural elite and politicians alike, and so that the media.
Yes, so it involves all parties here. And now I want to move again to the financial part of the electoral process with you, Mr. Chris Sessi. While the state deployed the amended Article 200 of the electoral law to block candidate lists linked to dubious business operations, certain critics and opposition factions claim these mechanisms were applied too stringently. As an analyst looking from New York, how does the incoming assembly strike a healthy balance between enforcing anti-corruption checks and preserving also genuine political pluralism?
Well, Yassine, your question is very legitimate, but it's also very difficult to answer it because it's a matter of the money. And it's there everywhere in the world. But let me try to concentrate on this Article 200. The question touches upon one of the central dilemmas confronting contemporary constitutional democracy. The question is how to aggressively combat corruption without intentionally restricting the legitimate political competition. And it is a very, very difficult question to answer. It's a very difficult task to come to fruition, and it's a very tiny line. Where do you draw the line between the two of them? Between, as I said, and I will bet to repeat myself, is how can you aggressively combat the corruption without restricting the political competition, because they all call themselves very legitimate in their representativity. Now, the amendment to Article 200 reflects the state, and I agree with that, the state determination to prevent individuals suspected of exploiting illicit financial network or engaging in corrupt business practice from legislative institution. And God knows, and a tree cannot hide the forest. Yes, it's a sickness in Algeria. We have a cancer. This cancer is this business practice for entering legislative institution. In the beginning of our independence, you have land that it was very clear. You have the institution, you have the FLN, and you was trying to the party unique, etc., etc. But now you have a plethora of political parties, and some of them, and I'm the first one to recognize it, they have nothing to do in the landscape of political in Algeria. But now, again and again, democracy. Nevertheless, the democratic legitimacy depends equally upon preserving political pluralism, and you have also to look at it. We cannot just say, because this and this is no. No, you have to have a structure, and the amendment of the 200 is the beginning of it, to look for integrity and transparency, because a representative parliament derives from the authority. He should be the genuine existence to the political diversity where we are all different, as my friend Dr. Tommy is saying, we can disagree, we cannot be disagreeable, but also can be crook. And you know that they are crook there, we have to take them away. And that's, again and again, for me, we have to do the comparative governance perspective, which is one of the key, or maybe the key for the principle is, I accept the proportionality, but also for me the most important thing is not to be proportionality, is integrity and transparency. The incoming, and I'm trying to be brief to give you back the floor, if you allow me this, just
of course,
one more,
yeah.
Not the incoming people, National Assembly, LANP, they have to play an institutional role in maintaining the balance. Yes, we have institutions, and our institutions are very good. We have to protect them. But is the delivery of the execution of the job of the parliament, and then we have to have a parliament that, yes, they possess the legislative authority to continuously evaluate electoral law, to strengthen, to make it more powerful, the procedure transparency,
yes,
to refine the judicial safeguard and improve the oversight of the campaign financing. But legislative committee have also to be there, but they are the one who are going to do the implementation. They are the one going to put in practice what it was the law that was.
Yes, and indeed we will go back, Mr. Sassi, to discuss these questions in details later on. But now we speak also about the duties of the new elected parliament, which is, as you have mentioned, will have big challenges and many responsibilities. Mr. Rafiq Tamghari, there is here often a distinct disconnect in public reception regarding what a member of parliament can actually deliver. For our audience watching the results coming in, could you explicitly clarify the structural boundaries between the national legislative and oversight duties of a parliamentary deputy in this new elected parliament versus also the executive prerogatives of a local elected official?
Yes, of course. There is indeed a need to clarify the role of members of parliament. A parliamentary or deputy does not manage municipality. They don't distribute public housing or execute a local development. The deputies, they have a mission. It's a legislative, it's a supervisory. All the parliament, they have to debate, they have to propose, they have to vote laws, they have to be, let's say, sort of concrete actions and on the public policy. Now, if we clarify the situation of this deputy on the parliament, it concerns all the national level. It's not the local level, because there is a difference between deputies and all this local elected. In the other hand, I think if we have to execute these responsibilities, they oversee this municipal affairs. For me, they implant development, they have to manage the budget, they have to provide the public service. For me, again, we have really to clarify the mission of each parliament, each deputy, each local, and this is very, for the moment, for the whole population, it's not a clear picture. I will share with you a small anecdote. And all the candidates that we receive here in the, let's say, candidate from outside Algeria, some people ask them just small questions, like numbers of the parliament in the parliament today. They were impossible to reply with the name of the president of the parliament. They don't know how to manage a budget of a state. So there is indeed a great emergency to train this candidate and to give them the right information and to have this curiosity and to develop, let's say, the real job of a deputy. This is very important.
Yes, and maybe with this new elected parliament, we have seen great participation of young people, many candidates coming from different electoral or scientific and intelligent backgrounds, so maybe they have this capability to discuss many challenges, many files related to the government, maybe better than previous parliaments that Algeria have seen. So maybe we shift now also to the southern border context with you, Dr. Abdelnour Toumi. So if we see these strategic southern border regions, which such as Tindouf also, and the local population, which there is very unique, pressing also socio-economic concerns. How should the newly elected parliament read the specific context of these border provinces, and what do these citizens realistically expect also from their new representatives in the parliament?
The expectation is huge, but at the same time, it shows a frustration because, unfortunately, those MPs, actually, whether from the southern constituents or the north or the east or the west, again, are not delivering. And when we speak about to deliver, like it was mentioned by Mr. Tarab, actually the MP is not in the municipality or in like the municipality council. He has that national mission, but at the same time, let's put it this way, I mean, he thinks locally, but he acts or she acts nationally. And this is why we have this confusion when I mentioned the mentality and to some extent the understanding of the role of politics in general. And this is, it's not a lack of the political culture in Algeria, because Algerians are well informed, and as I said, I mean, they have this political awareness, but they misunderstand the role of those politicians, whether at local or regional or national, as a result of that mentality of how to deliver or to ask, or somebody when he goes or when he runs or she runs for office, the expectation from that is to give him her a house or helping him or her for a job and so on. That's fine, and this is it is happening in very old democracies. I mean, for instance, here in France or in the UK or even in the US. But the point is, to answer to your question about those, the role of those MPs is when they go to Algiers and to the Lapian, they have to understand, actually they go with a job description, and the goal is to debate and to organize even workshops between colleagues, and then they go to challenge the executive branch, and this is their job, is to go and to challenge the executive, because the executive branch is the one who is acting, who is implementing public policies that they are impacting the demands of their constituents. So here, when it comes to the South now, so the South, again, I think I mentioned in the previous program about how they were actually marginalized, and the people today, now they are asking for more development and to enhance, actually to build serious and solid infrastructures. And we saw that with the projects, whether on the Wilaya Tindouf, and again Upper and Bashar, with the large Bilad project, in which everybody is actually making grand expectation for the results, and that will help not only the region to be developed, but will give actually a solid position for Algeria when it comes to foreign investors, and also another actually window for national researchers without a hydrocarbon. And all these, we see, we speak about the natural resources and how Algeria is rich. So this is why actually we have the soil, and we need the man, and the man now has to translate his or her ideas and implement them on the field. And this, maybe I'm sorry for being philosophical, but this is a sense where actually the new Algeria is heading. It's actually, it's no more about cronyism and loyalism and so on. It's about accountability. And this is why today those actually new MPs that will go to Algiers, and they will have their job. Actually, this is the responsibility that is waiting for them. And again, the people in general are actually are very demanding, and they are expecting too much from those politicians, actually. And this is at every level. And just, and
especially maybe, Dr. Toumi, that the South has become a hub of investment in different sectors. We've seen the mining projects, the agricultural projects, and these, of course, citizens living in the southern region have a great participation in these kind of projects, which offer them, of course, different opportunities for jobs and also for investment.
I agree with that, and this is why you speak about infrastructure, and this is why they need more railways, and that to create more connection and to get connected with the north and the east and the west. And this is why, again, we speak about here we are talking strategically and the role of Algeria in the future and how is important for the decision makers. Algerian decision makers and for the new Algeria. And this is again why we're talking about the MPs and the role of the local politicians. It is also, it impacts directly the image of the country, not only on its neighbors, but also on internationally and worldwide.
Yes, indeed, and also continuing on the regional thread with Mr. Chris Sassi. While a deputy is elected to serve a national mandate, their constituency remains rooted locally. How can the legislative and budgetary tools offered and which are at the disposal of the incoming People's National Assembly be dynamically leveraged to directly stimulate and also facilitate local economic development within the individual provinces in the north but also in the south?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Yassine, the way you are just mirroring the desire of the nation regarding this decentralization. Mm-hmm. You know, although members, and try to be brief because I know the time is there, also members of the parliament, they legislate on behalf of the nation as a whole. Their democratic legitimacy is grounded, never forget that, in the socio-economical realities of their respective constitutionality. Consequently, effective representation make the bridge between the national policy making and the local development priorities. As you said here in America, all politics is local, all politics are local. And yes, our members of the parliament, they possess several instruments capable of promoting the balanced territorial development, as you are saying, between the north, the south, the east, and the west, with all these differences. First, in my humble opinion, its legislative authorities enable deputies to enact laws that improve the investment climate across all the province. And you named, for example, what's going on in Tindouf and Béchar, etc., with the mining process. But this may include legislation simplifying the administrative procedure, encouraging entrepreneurs, and giving more power to the legal, certainly for investor and promoter in economic diversification. If you have each and every time go to the central Algiers to have this and this paper and this procedure and application of this movement, no, you have to give the deputy, his role is to bring the bridge between the national legislation, and more importantly for me at least, on the local level, because this is the only way we are going to have a diversification in all the country with all equality. And then the second point, which is not less important, the parliament exercise oversight over the national budget. And this is where you have to have an equitable distribution. I don't know why Tindouf have to suffer because Algiers is going to eat all the budget. I don't, they have to go to the proportionality. As you have proportionality for the election we are looking for, also to have an equitable. And not only because by the number of the population, also, which is for me greater, by the need of the population. And that, we have to, the deputy have to defend this during the budget deliberation. And to be very quick, because I know the time is there, you have a third point for me. At least is my humble assessment. The third is to oversight the function that will allow deputy to monitor the implementation of government development program. You have here a committee from Algiers, and it's great. They are doing all the infrastructure, all the project, all the projection. But you have to consult with the local people. Is it compatible with the region? That's something that, we have to have this decentralization. Yes, you have the national election, the national procedure, but you have the local, ce que j'appelle moi the regionalization of the need. And it's very, very important to consider it. And you have to have people who look above the government program to say, yes, we did a government program, we appreciate what you are doing, but is it going to be applicable in my region? And then to conclude, if I may say, on this issue, because it's for me, it's very important. The parliamentarians, they are so important in their role. But ultimately, their effectiveness within the INP should not be measured solely by the number of law and number of seats that they have, but they have really things that they serve as a strategic policy maker for all the nation, and their success lies in ensuring that national legislation is merely not only for some big center, big region, so on and so on, but also throughout the country, and I insist on that.
Yes, indeed.
All the country.
All the regions, indeed. And also we have to point out that there is a big youth representation which is going to be present at the parliament. Mr. Rafiq Temghari, with over 54% of the candidate lists comprised of youth. The demographic makeup of our political elite is changing rapidly in this new parliament. In your view, is the ultimate success of youth and also the participation of women, which we have seen the lists were full of women participation in this new parliament, is it measured simply by the numeric quantity of seats they win, or maybe by their actual capacity to impact core state decision making?
Yeah, of course. I think the presence of the young people and the women, as you said, it's a great number, but it's definitely positive development for Algerians' political landscape. But let's say the success should not be measured only by the numbers, by the numbers of the seat occupied. The real challenge is their ability to contribute in this legislative debate, how they can influence the public policies, how they can introduce the innovation, the perspective, how they can be very strategic in the decision maker. This representation is very important, but the impact even more important. The quality of the participation, the competence, the commitment, for me, it will be determinate the value of that youth and women bring the parliamentary life. But again, we are very proud of this participation of youth. We know that Algeria is a rich country with all the, let's say, the raw material, but especially with the youth, and the youth should be actually the best investment for the future of Algeria. You, Yassine, Karim, Islam, this is the future of Algeria. We have to invest in the youth. We have to listen to the youth, and we have really to give them all the, let's say, the the future. We try to on transmet le témoin, how we can give them the way to manage to be a real actor in the politic and to believe in them. I mean, even to give them, sometimes there is no experience, but to follow, to how to share, how to this is the formation of the future, and it will come with the youth.
Yes, definitely. Dr. Abdenour Toumi, I turn to now with this maybe last question. President Abdelmajid Tebboune has consistently emphasized the absolute necessity of maintaining a unified internal front. Given the volatile geopolitical environment surrounding our borders on all fronts, what are the primary immediate tasks of this incoming parliament to deter external interference and safeguard Algeria's sovereign independence?
Actually, stability it is important, and Algeria has been going through this process to enhance stability and unity. And when we speak about unity, and here we are speaking about these legislative elections and the role of the MPs. And we all know, I mean, the MP, actually he and she translates or are the conscience of the nation. So therefore, I mean, the nation has to be one and defending the nations. And here it comes, I mean, to the nation state institutions and for stability, and also to create this new Algeria that is open to all its sons and daughters without any distinction. And as the president himself, I mean, he mentioned that many times about the openness of Algeria toward its sons and daughters, I mean, whether at home or abroad. And we saw how he has, I mean, personally involved with the Algerian diaspora abroad and to the creation of Algerian Scientific Diaspora Council.
Definitely. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of our time slot for tonight, and we must draw tonight's debate to a close. A profound thank you to our distinguished panel of experts, Mr. Rafiq Temari from Paris. Thank you so much for your participation and all your insights.
Best for you.
I also thank Dr. Abdenour Toumi who for all his insights and his contribution from Paris. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you for
And also
me.
from New York, I thank Mr. Mohamed Chris Sassi.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. As the preliminary numbers from July 2nd election begin to settle, the true upcoming change for the 407 members of the next People's National Assembly will lie in translating these structural and legal reforms into measurable institutional output, from managing complex regional security paradigm and to drafting laws that diversify our national economy and empower a young demographic. The mandate of this legislative body is nothing short of historic. Thank you for staying with us for this special coverage on All 24 News. Have a great night.